it's a must-win game from a playoff perspective that we talked about. But from if we don't have this guy, we don't have a chance type of urgency. I don't get that feeling. It's a high ankle sprain that's generally 2 to 4 weeks. We're in week number 3. From what I saw, he wasn't moving side to side. I joked Dallas Goedert was probably the most honest person, and he probably did it by mistake, because when he asked, he said, well, he's not, and I'm paraphrasing, he's not limping as much as he was before, which indicates he's still limping.
Limping, yes. And my boy, John McMullen, the Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365. At least one of us is ready for Christmas, because as we were talking just before the show started, Johnny Mac said, next week is Christmas? Man, you work too hard, McMullen. You don't even know what day Christmas is.
It's one day at a time, Jody. Yeah, it's December 17th. So, yeah, next Saturday.
You're spending way too much time with Nick Sirianni, one day at a time. No, you need to know when Christmas is. I think 8 days out.
I think Nick Sirianni would tell you that as well, but that's a different conversation. I'll get to see Nick today, so more time with Nick Sirianni. Hopefully, who knows? I might get the text that they're shutting down. Who knows with what's going on in the world?
We've got a lot to talk about here on Birds 365 today. We'll try and stay as focused on the football game that will kick off at around 1 o'clock on Sunday, but there's so much surrounding it that we can't ignore it. We'll keep it on.
I'd like to ignore it, Jay.
I know you'd like to, but it's our responsibility to try and keep the Eagle fans informed as to what's going on and what effect it will have on the game on Sunday. But we'll start on the field before we get to all the COVID craziness. Splitting reps in practice again. Jalen Hurts took the first reps, if you want to consider that the deciding factor. He did go first in reps in practice yesterday, but they were shared between he and Gardner Minshew again. And I know you got a couple of minutes in at practice. I saw some video thereof. He's not moving all that great. Jalen Hurts is not moving like he usually does, which is one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the National Football League. It can 24/48 hours, however many hours you want to slice up between now and 1 o'clock Sunday kickoff, can that make that big a deal? It's now several weeks since he got hurt against the Jets. Are these key last 48 hours going to be the difference between Jalen Hurts being able to play and not being able to play?
I think they could be in a circumstance where, say a playoff game and somebody's 50-50. I think it could make the difference in that type of circumstance. I don't think it's going to make the difference here because I don't think you have to push him back on the field. I don't think you have to. Number one, you have a good backup quarterback, and that's what I think Gardner Minshew is, a good backup quarterback. And number two, you're obviously facing a team that has a lot of issues itself that we'll get into, obviously. But I don't feel that sense of urgency, like a must. It's a must-win game from a playoff perspective that we talked about. But from if we don't have this guy, we don't have a chance type of urgency. I don't get that feeling. It's a high ankle sprain that's generally 2 to 4 weeks. We're in week number 3. From what I saw, he wasn't moving side to side. I joked Dallas Goedert was probably the most honest person, and he probably did it by mistake, because when he asked, he said, well, he's not, and I'm paraphrasing, he's not limping as much as he was before, which indicates he's still limping.
Limping, yes.
He's just not limping as much as he was before, and that's what happens with these types of incrementally. You get better as you get farther away from the injury. If it's the playoffs, maybe he'd push it. I don't think he needs to push it this week. That's where I'm leaning towards the team saying, you know what, don't worry about it. We'll go with Gardner Minshew again, and we'll get more information as we get down there today. But yeah, I mean, 24, 48 hours, especially when you get closer to the end of the lifespan of an injury, could mean a lot, especially when you're doing rehab that entire time and stim work and all that stuff. It could make the difference. But the guy I saw yesterday doesn't look ready to play.
Yeah,
Now,
and you actually saw him. I only saw video of him. The fact that the other quarterbacks going from drill to drill were at least jogging and Jalen was walking so as not to put any added stress on that ankle was pretty much telltale, above and beyond what Dallas kind of had to say about him limping less. You could judge with your own two eyes that he's just not right now, which means, yeah, I'm 100% with you. It's Gardner's show again on Sunday. Our stance here on Birds 365 is pretty damn irrelevant. The only thing that matters is what does Nick Sirianni and the coaching staff decide. Do you think they've got a time or a spot on the calendar or in the week that they say, all right, we need to at least define? I'm sure they all have their own leanings in their own mind right now, and they're discussing it amongst themselves behind closed doors. But that they have a time that they want to make sure they let the team know this is what we're doing on Sunday.
Yeah, last week was really Friday. They kind of made the decision.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
last week was bye.
2 weeks ago, yeah. From talking to people, they really made the decision Friday with the hope of things turn in a miraculous direction. But, like Dallas said that, we didn't know until game time. And even Gardner said that after the game when I asked him, I didn't know until I was ready to go. I mean, he did. But so they'll probably play that part of it up. But I think they probably already know. And they'll let the players in on it today. And, if you think about before the bye, and it was our buddy Derek Gunn from the post-game show here on JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe. There, I got it in, Jed. He reported it Saturday because he was getting it from some players, so they knew it early. And then, obviously, the NFL media confirmed it Sunday, and everyone, it's real. It was real before that. It was real Friday. So they'll have a really good indication. And they already have a really good indication. That's why I think it's going to be Gardner Minshew. Because you also have to throw in, Jody, obviously, the style of player Jalen is. I mean, why do you want to put him out there when a lot of his effectiveness as a runner is going to be limited from this injury? That's part of it as well. You don't have with a more traditional pocket style quarterback who's not mobile to begin with. So it hampers him more than it would other styles of quarterbacks as well. So that part of it is thrown into the equation as well.
And it should be. That's just doing it the right way. So I believe that that's exactly the way the Eagles will handle it. I will add to the mix that we know that the coach likes the competitive advantage by not tipping his hand in advance. So I think he's going to play this way all the way till Sunday. There won't be an official announcement as to who's starting till.
I don't expect an official announcement today. You never know. He throws it out there on occasion, but I certainly don't expect it. But I got to tell you, from Ron Rivera's perspective, I don't even think he's looking at what's going on in Philadelphia. I really don't. I mean, if you think now, number one, in a normal circumstance, this is a veteran coach. It's not, before the bye, it was a rookie head coach this guy's seen everything to begin with, but. He's got too many issues. He's not worried about. He's got to figure out who's going to line up on the defensive line. Never mind who they're going to try to stop. So, I don't think that those kinds of games matter at all this week. I don't think they matter all that much to begin with. But I mean, they don't matter at all this week.
We'll get to the Redskins and all of their issues, their ever-growing COVID reserve list, which is just, it's unheard of. It's unprecedented where that team.
The Rams beat them already. The Rams are actually ahead of them.
The Rams have more?
I believe the Rams are up to 25. I forget Cleveland. Cleveland's in that range too.
Cleveland might have less, but Cleveland's got some significance at a position that's kind of important to the National Football League, and will actually have an Eagle tie to it. We'll get to that too. But one last question on the Eagles before we branch out. And we do have to branch out to this COVID stuff because it's not just going to affect this week's game, but it's going to affect the Eagles and everyone else going forward because the NFL actually changed its policy as of yesterday, which both you and I speculated could happen during the day, and sure enough, it did. If Gardner Minshew is going to start, and you're saying Jalen Hurts looks like 50-50, could go, don't want to take the chance, err on the side of caution, all those, is Jalen going to be the backup or is Reed Stinnett? Because 2 weeks ago, it was Reed Stinnett who I couldn't pick out of a six-pack lineup if I were sitting with a detective somewhere. You want to win this game. And if you put Gardner Minshew in and Gardner gets hurt and Reed Stinnett comes off the bench and you lose to the woefully undermanned Washington football team and Jalen Hurts comes out and says Tuesday or whatever we talked to you guys, yeah, I could have gone if need be. Yeah, Nick Sirianni's opening himself up for some pretty good second guess.
Yeah, you're right in that type of scenario. But number one, I think Jalen Hurts is smart enough that he would not say that. He would understand.
He said he was going to play against the Jets 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and he's a smart guy, and he learns from his mistakes. He's already tempered that back this week. But I'm saying in that type of scenario, he's a really smart kid. He's not gonna throw fuel on the fire and say, oh, we just lost this horrible game. I'm going to go out and tell these knuckleheads I'm ready to go. He's not going to do it. He's just too smart to do that. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. But the bigger part you bring up is if he's 50-50, is he going to be the backup? No, they're not going to dress him. If he's not starting, they're not going to dress him. Reed Sinnett's going to be the backup. San Diego. What is, you might know, University of San Diego, Jody? What is their nickname? That I don't even know. That's where he went to college. So San Diego football fans will be excited if he gets in there. But you can't. I mean, Gardner Minshew's a young guy. He doesn't have a large injury history. You can't assume he's going to get hurt, especially against a team that's so.
But if
anything can happen.
If you're so sure he's not going to get hurt, why not put Jalen in? Hey, so what? He's dressed on the sidelines. He never sees a snap. He never goes into the game. They dress him in just in case.
They don't even want the inkling of a quarterback controversy. And if he's dressed, if he's capable of playing, he's going to play. He's not going to be the break glass in case of emergency guy.
Okay. All right, just wondering about that. All right, unfortunately, we do need to talk about COVID on today's show. Kudos and credit to Grant Paulson, who we had on our show yesterday. If you missed the show, you want to go back before Sunday's game, it's worth watching. Check out the interview we did yesterday with Grant Paulson. He's the host on 106.7 The Fan down in D.C. Redskins day in, day out on the Sports Talk Radio in the nation's capital. Good dude, smart dude. And we talked with him about the unbelievable amount of people on the reserve COVID list, which, oh, by the way, the Redskins added 3 more again yesterday since last we spoke on Verge 360.
By the way, the Rams are at 25, so the Rams haven't beat. The Rams are 25.
They've got more than the Redskins. Redskins are over 20 themselves. Just trying to put together a roster is the number one thing that the Washington football team has to achieve over the next 24, 48 hours before they take the field. But both John and I talked about before Grant came on, the NFL let it leak out that they were contemplating changing their COVID protocols because you have teams like Washington and the Rams and the Browns who have 15, 18, 21, 25 players that are in the protocol as of right now, these are going to affect this weekend's games, and they're going to put forth lesser products. And when the product is lesser, you think there's a possibility the dollars are affected. People aren't going to go to game, aren't going to spend their money. Wait a minute, whoa. Are we being overly cautious here? Can we figure out a way to give a team a better chance to field a competitive roster in a given week? And sure enough, they did act. And Grant Paulson, who was on with us, hit it right on the head. He said, I think the first step they'll take will be 4 players that are vaccinated have to get 2 negative tests in a 24 hours apart to be reinstated. He said they'll probably cut that in half. They'll go back to 1 test for the player to pass to be able to not go back to. They've never had it before, but they would just cut it in half from 2 to 1. And sure enough, that's what Roger Goodell came out and did last night. They upped protocols in other ways, more masks, teams doing virtual meetings. They are trying to be protective of the players, but don't kid yourself, they're trying to protect their product more than anything else. So they are going to institute this new policy immediately. If you have 1 negative test, you can get back onto the field ASAP. What do you make of it, Johnny Mac?
A lot of hypocrisy, no surprise. The NFL made it very clear that trying to cover their you-know-what, that this is where the science and data is taking us. And I said, well, you can add timing as well. That was a big part. It's magic how science and data lined up at the exact right time you needed to lessen the protocols. Look, I've argued this is not an NFL problem. This is a societal problem, and it's not the NFL's responsibility. Number one, people look to the NFL way too much when it comes to issues like this or social issues. This is an entertainment company at the end of the day. There are much more important people that should be leading us on these types of serious issues. So I put that caveat on there. But as far as what the NFL does, unfortunately, this has come at the worst time, and the playoff push is coming. And I talked about, Ron Rivera in Washington and talking with him. Players contacted me, are very frustrated. They're testing positive. They're asymptomatic. They feel completely fine, not even a sniffle, not even a scratchy throat. In other words, if you weren't testing them, they wouldn't even know they were sick. You wouldn't know they were sick. I'm not talking to you, Jody. I'm talking to listeners. Nobody would know they were sick, because why would you test yourself if you feel completely healthy? But that's where we are in this society. And the NFL had a chance to lead here, but they can't lead because they don't have the guts to lead and say, you know what? We're not going to test vaccinated asymptomatic players. And that would have created a positive impact twofold. It would have encouraged unvaccinated players to get vaccinated because you have a better sort of carrot dangling in front of you. No more testing unless you're sick, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. And then you wouldn't have these issues of what is becoming very clear. And I'm going to make this prediction, and I'm going to guarantee I'm right. And I'm not a doctor. And the wing nuts are going to attack me, Jody. This at some point is going to be called an endemic, not a pandemic. And what that means is it is a seasonal issue. It's not going away ever. And we're going to have to live with it. And, older people like myself, I don't want to put you in that category.
Feel free.
But you're going to raise your hand. We should do more to make sure that we're safe from these types of things, just like the flu, just like any other respiratory illness. And this one's more serious, so more so. As far as young, healthy people, which the majority of NFL players are, they're not going to be affected by this. That's the reality. You can point out, I can't point out right now, one, I'm sure it'll happen at one point, but from a statistical standpoint, that's going to be insignificant. And that's going to relate to probably underlying causes that people might not even be aware of. So you can say, well, that's why you test. Well, then we should test for everything. And you can't live your life that way. So the NFL had a chance to lead, to save their season. They don't have the you-know-what to do that. That part of it's not their fault. We are where we are. They're trying to get as many vaccinated, healthy players on the field. The science and data has lined up at the perfect time because guess what? Science is like everybody else. They don't want to turn off the NFL.
Yeah, science amazingly happens to come to the forefront when you've got 3 teams with double-digit guys on the
timing is amazing, isn't it, Jody?
Unbelievable how that scientific breakthrough just happened to coincide with 3 teams not being able to field teams this weekend. Amazing how sometimes things work out. He is John McMullen. I am Jody McDonald. We'll continue this conversation. We're hoping to have game day crats. You know, I'm going to pimp that about Brandon Brooks, right?
I warned him. I warned him. Yes,
I got to give him a hard time.
He almost made a mistake. He said he couldn't come on. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want the wrath of Jody McDonald.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go easy on him. He may have COVID for all we know, so I'm not going to beat him up real bad, but I got to at least mention it. Did you see Brandon down at the facilities yesterday, John?
No, I haven't seen Brandon in a long time. I saw Isaac Sayamalo still in a walking boot. I saw him this week. Saw Brandon Graham. I see Brandon a lot, but Brandon's fine. You would think he could play the way he's moving around. Unfortunately, he can't. But yeah, I have not seen Brandon Brooks, and that's one of the why we have so many questions. There's something going on that isn't involved with the injury, and it's probably more contract related.
We shall see about that. All right, Game Day Ed Kratz joins us next here on Birds 365.